Section 1. You will listen to a conversation between a tourist named John and his guide during their trip. Listen to it and answer questions 1 to 10. Now listen to the conversation and answer the questions.
It's very quiet here.
It's not so quiet. Listen.
I see what you mean.
Of course there are no cars.
No trucks, no motors, no computers, no people. Where are the nearest people?
We're about 20 miles from the nearest small town. That's where we're going.
How far have we come this morning?
Maybe 5 or 6 miles. Our camp last night was just over that hill.
That doesn't look so far. Is it really 5 miles over there?
It isn't if you walk over the hill, but the river goes around the hill. How long have we been going?
About an hour and a half, but we stopped several times while I took pictures. Does this river go beyond the town?
Yes, the river runs into a lake.
How far is the lake?
About 20 miles. The town is on the lake. It's on the other side of the lake, but it's built on the lake. The river runs into the lake, then it runs out the other side of the lake.
Do you live in the town?
I live near the town. I live beyond the lake about 3 miles.
Do you live in the forest?
Yes, but I live beside the river too. My brothers and I have houses there.
How many brothers do you have?
I have 5 brothers and 3 sisters.
That's a village.
Almost. My sisters don't live there. They are married and live in the city.
What work do your brothers do?
We all do the same. We hunt and fish. We are guides most of the year.
Who do you guide?
You mean people who just want to see the wilderness? Many. When I was young, we had only hunters and fishermen. Now we have most people who just want to look.
Where do you take them?
We hike to the large lakes. We canoe in the rivers. Many people like to visit the waterfalls in the area. We have 6 large falls.
Where are they?
Not too far. One is near where we camped last night. It's the other way up the river.
Can we see some of the falls?
Tomorrow, there is one after the town, down the river about 10 miles. We'll see that one. It's on a stream that runs into the river beyond the town.
It's very peaceful here. Do you ever get bored?
No, I don't. Some people do. I get bored in cities. I used to work in the city. I didn't like it. I came back here.
Was this your home? I mean, is this where you were born?
No, I was born in the city. I went to school there. My father was like me. He didn't like the city. When my brothers all finished school, the family moved here, beside the lake. My father never went to the city again.
What about your mother? Was she bored?
We're Indians, you know. She had a lot of friends here. There are a lot of Indians living around here. Across the ridge is an Indian town. My mother likes to go to the city to see her daughters, but she likes it here in the forest.
How far is the Indian town?
Walking over the ridge, maybe 10 or 12 miles, but we can drive from the lake.
How long does it take to drive?
Just a few minutes. It's a good road.
Can we go there?
Why? There's nothing there.
I would like to talk to the people. That's what I do. I talk to people and write stories about them.
We can go if you want.
I would like to.
Most people want to see mountains, rivers, trees, wild animals.
I like those things too.
There's a small river around the next bend. It comes from the mountain.
How far is that?
Only a mile or so. Are you hungry? We could have lunch there.
We didn't bring any lunch. I thought we were going to have lunch in town.
We could catch some fish and cook them. It's a good place to fish.
That sounds wonderful.
It's a beautiful spot. Look up there. Can you see that brown rock above the trees?
Yes, it's so beautiful.
Can you see a stream in the sun beside the rock?
Yes, it looks very, very small from here.
It's not very big. That's the beginning of the small river we are going to. It comes down the mountains into the river.
It looks very far away.
It is.
Have you been up there?
Of course. Look ahead. You can see the river now.
What a beautiful place. Let's definitely stop here to fish for our lunch.
Do you enjoy this?
I love it.
I thought you liked people.
I do, but I like being outdoors. I like the mountain, the river, the forest. It's perfect. Do you like what you do?
Yes, it's not really work.
What do you mean?
I do it without pay. It's what I do in my free time. I live outdoors. I fish, I hunt, I go down the river in my canoe.
Thanks for a wonderful week.
That is the end of section 1. You will have half a minute to check your answers. Section 2. You are going to listen to a radio programme about buying a house. Listen to it and answer questions 11 to 20. Now you have a chance to read questions 11 to 20. Good afternoon, listeners. Today, I'd like to welcome Edward Fox, who is going to talk to us today about buying a house. Edward.
Thank you, Eunice. For most people, at least, buying a house is a major life event, and probably the single most expensive item you are ever likely to buy. It is also a place that you can make your home. Therefore, thinking carefully before you make a purchase is of the utmost importance. One of the most important things to consider before buying any property is the location. Because remember, it is where you plan to spend a large part of your life, or indeed the rest of your life in some circumstances. Therefore, consider the type of life you enjoy leading. Are you a very sociable person who enjoys nightclubs and discos? If so, then you may wish to consider something close to the city, or indeed in a city where it is convenient for all types of nightlife. On the other hand, if, like me, you prefer a quieter life, then you may want to consider something away from the city. However, do remember that proximity to your place of work is also important. Indeed, we spend most of our life at work, and you don't want to have to spend 2 or more hours every day travelling to work now, do you? Therefore, transport is the utmost importance. City suburbs, however, are often conveniently located for commuting to work,
All for shopping.
without being in the heart of a busy city. You may, however, think that a house in the suburbs would be far too expensive. Yet houses located in cities can often exceed the price of suburban houses. So check out the prices. You may be surprised. Family is another important consideration. You may prefer a house that is away from a busy street or main road. And of course, remember that children have to attend school. Is there a good school in the area, or would your children have to travel a long distance to get to school? Therefore, if you have children, or you plan to have children, location is a very important factor. And of course, remember that a family influences the size of the property. There are, of course, various types of houses. There are detached houses which stand alone and are not joined by to another building. Then there are semi-detached houses, which, incidentally, are the most common, and for good reason, because they are less expensive than detached houses. This is because they are, in fact, 2 houses joined together, and therefore take up less space. And finally, there are townhouses, which are many houses joined together to form a long row. But don't think that townhouses are less expensive than semi-detached houses. They rarely are. This is because they are usually built in cities where the prices of property is very expensive indeed. The age of property is another consideration. If you're considering buying an old house, beware. You may be faced with expensive repairs and renovation bills. So have the house thoroughly checked by a professional surveyor before you decide to buy. But then again, there are things you can look for yourself. Things such as the condition of the woodwork, especially doors and windows that can be expensive to replace. More importantly, make sure all the fixtures and fittings, things such as cupboards, sinks, taps, bathtubs, are all in good working order, because replacing kitchens and bathrooms can be a very costly business. And don't forget the garden. If the property has one, if you enjoy gardening, then fine. But if you don't enjoy gardening, then you may prefer a small garden as opposed to a big one. But even if you do enjoy gardening, it is important to remember that gardens take up a lot of your time. So keeping a garden in good order may be very difficult if you work long hours. One final thing is the general feel of the place. Does it have a good atmosphere? And most importantly of all, would you feel comfortable living there?
Thank you, Edward. But I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. But I'll be back next Wednesday when my guest speaker will be talking about buying a computer. So until then, bye for now. That is the end of section 2. You will have half a minute to check your answers.
Section 3. You will hear a local radio program giving information about jobs that are available in the area. First read questions 21 to 30. Fill in the information required using no more than 3 words and tick the correct box. And after that touch of nostalgia from the 60s, it's coming up for 11:15 and time for our morning job spot. And I hope you've got your notebook out and your pencil sharpened, because here's Mandy. Good morning, Mandy. What's up in the employment world this morning?
Well, Simon, this morning I have 5 jobs that have come in, and the first is for a dental assistant. That's located in Tunbridge, and it's 2.5 days a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturday mornings. You've got to be at least 25, and the salary is £2,080 per annum, and you've got to be experienced. The second opening is for a florist, and this is according to experience as to wage, and the age is open. The job is in Tunbridge Wells, and the hours are from 9 to 6 Monday to Saturday. And because you're working Saturday, you get a day off in the week. Now, as that's a florist, you must be very experienced in all aspects of floristry and capable of working to a very high standard. Previous managerial experience is an advantage, as this job has actually got nice prospects, because there's a possibility of management for the right applicant.
So there's one for someone who's going places. What's next, Mandy?
Next job then, Simon, is an evening job, and it's for a cleaner. The wage is £25 per week and the age is 30 plus. Hours for this, as it's an evening job, 6 to 8:30 Monday to Friday. So that's a nice job for someone who wants to do something in the evening, Simon. They must be fully experienced as an office cleaner, hoovering, dusting and polishing, etc.
And where's that one based?
Oh yes, that one's in Tunbridge. The fourth job we've got lined up is for general catering assistant, based in Paddock Wood. The wage is £48.40 plus full board, so that's full board and it's £48.40. The age is 18 plus and there are alternate shifts on this job. It's 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. and 11:30 to 7:30 p.m. and the job consists of cleaning, washing up the kitchen, as well as serving in the dining room and all sorts of domestic duties. Experience is not necessary. So, for someone who's 18 plus, that's a nice little job there. And here's the punchline: 10 weeks holiday per annum.
Oh ho, I might put in for that myself.
I can just see you up to your elbows in the washing up, Simon. Last vacancy is for an office job. That's secretary and personal assistant based in Tunbridge. The wage is £4,298 per annum. Now, there's a little bit of detail I must give here. It's part-time to start with, 3 days a week for 3 months. So for the part-time, it's 3/5 of £4,298. And then after 3 months, it goes to a full-time job, 9 to 5. That's for someone 21 plus. And the job consists of work as a secretary cum personal assistant to social workers. You need fairly good shorthand and good typing speeds required. And it's also related to clerical work, answering the phone and reception, etc. And because it's working for social workers, you need a responsible attitude and common sense. So, if you're interested in any of these jobs, get in touch with Tunbridge Job Centre on Tunbridge 55499 and ask for extension 30. And that's it, Simon.
Thank you very much indeed, Mandy. By the way, that's your day's work done. You can just sit back now and do absolutely nothing.
Wouldn't that be nice, Simon? Haha, if only I could.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Section 4. You will hear the speech made by Mr. Samaranch on the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games. Listen and complete questions 31 to 40.
Here is the President of the International Committee, Mr. Samaranch's speech at the opening ceremony of the 26th Olympic Games. I'll read it for you. On behalf of the International Olympic Committee, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the Games of the 26th Olympiad, Sydney 2000. The goal of the Olympic movement is to contribute to building a peaceful and better world by educating youth through sport practice without discrimination of any kind, and in the Olympic spirit. In the spirit, nations and youth of the world come together every 4 years to celebrate the world's largest sporting festival. SOCOG has organised these sporting competitions in consultation with the international federations, responsible for each sport. This is through nomination of technical officials, specification of technical requirements, and the cooperation with IOC and SOCOG on venue and other preparations. We thank each international federation for their vital efforts in the preparation of these Millennium Games. The Sydney 2000 Olympic Games is also the centenary of women's participation. With a record number of events and disciplines for women at the Games, the Olympic movement continues to recognise and support the vital role of women in sport. As we embark on a new millennium, it is the Olympic Games that will continue to unite the world and celebrate humanity.
That is the end of section 4. You will have half a minute to check your answers. That is the end of practice test 2.